Hi, this is Miss D or Mother D. And first, I want to show off my dog sweater that my daughter bought me. If you're interested in getting one, just hit me up in comments. Okay, we're going to talk about Abraham and Sarah tonight. But before we get started, I would like to read a Bible verse to you. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. James 3:10. A spring will produce only one kind of water. So too the words of our mouths flow out of the springs of our heart. A heart that is bitter and impure will produce curses that taint our words of blessing. Only a pure heart can produce pure words. Lord, before I speak, examine my heart. Make me clean by the power of Jesus' blood, and fill me with the grace of your Spirit. Remove from me the impurities of hate, envy, guilt, and pride, so that all that remains in me is you. Flow through me when I speak, and supply my words so that they may be worthy of the one called by your name. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, like I said, we're going to talk about Abraham and Sarah. And I just want you to know this is one of my favorite love stories. And one of the reasons why this is my favorite love story is because Abraham loved Sarah so much. We're talking pure love here. We're talking true love. It's love and then it's true love. And back then, they could have had several wives, but Abraham only had Sarah. Okay, I also want you to know, if some of you may not know, but I'm sure most of you do know, that Sarah was not just Abraham's wife, but also his stepsister. So let's get started. Abraham, he never believed in idols. He said he never could hear them speak to him. And so one day, God came to him and told Abraham to get his people and leave his father's house, and that he was going to make him a great nation. But what Sarah could not understand, and the rest of them, it was years, and Sarah could not bear any children. She brought so many children in the world, but as far as her having a child, she could not have a child. She was barren. And so Abraham did as God said. And let me just go back to Adam and Eve. You know that when Adam and Eve, that when they ate from the fruit, that we lost our blessings. And then Noah brought our blessing back. And now we're getting our blessing through Abraham. Abraham said that we would be blessed, and if we're cursed, that God would curse them. So Abraham decided to get his family and everybody and leave. But nobody could understand how Abraham could be a father of nation. That's what no one could understand. Let's just say Abraham was rich. He had plenty of money. And so when he set out, he could not go where God had wanted him to go, and he ended up in Egypt. In Egypt, Abraham's wife, so I've read, was absolutely beautiful. Her skin tone was absolutely gorgeous. And so when they went to Egypt to rest and get water because they had been in the desert, and they decided, no, you can't come in. But it was always one guy that looking for the beautiful woman for the Pharaoh. And they had said that he had started killing husbands to have their wives. So Abraham told Sarah, just tell them that you are my sister. Well, that really wasn't a lie, Because Sarah was his half sister. Because Abraham said that if not, they would kill me. And of course, the Pharaoh did see her and said that she was the most beautiful thing that he ever seen. And of course, he wanted Sarah to be his wife. And Abraham, on the other hand, was freaking out. I mean, he could not move. He could not think about the other people. All he could think about was how was he going to get Sarah out of the castle with the Pharaoh. And so Abraham said to God that you might as well kill me if I can't have Sarah. And of course, we already know that God loved Abraham. And so, while Sarah was with the Pharaoh, he gave her a slave, Hagar. And it's said that actually Hagar was his daughter. She is considered to be Islamic. And so, one thing I did not understand, why did Sarah felt the need to take the slave? Because Abraham did not believe in slaves. Because he ended up buying a slave who became, he thought was going to be the heir to all his money. But one of the things about Abraham, everywhere he went, he got more. Because when God had put a plague on the Pharaoh, his family, his people, and then they couldn't figure out what happened. And then they thought about Abraham, them coming in. And so the Pharaoh told Abraham that his God wanted him to marry Sarah. And of course, Abraham says, no, that is not what my God wanted. And he said, look at you now. You curse me, God said he would curse you. And he told him, look at him and all the people that God has spread the plague on. So the Pharaoh told Abraham, leave, take everything that I have given you. And he had given them a lot. And Abraham always leave with more than what he come with. So they did leave, and Sarah brought Hagar with her. And so, Hagar was getting up in age. Sarah was getting up in age. And so was Abraham. So God had told Abraham that he would have a son and that he would have more kids than the dust on the ground in earth. So you can imagine, we talking thousands. And so Sarah had already asked Hagar, because she felt like, okay, Anna got old. I think she probably was like 70. It's obvious I'm not going to have a baby, and I want you to sleep with my husband. And when you get pregnant, you would give us a child. Well, Hagar was looking like, Abraham is like over everything. And maybe Abraham might want me and my son. So Hagar did get pregnant, and she had to be reminded that she was still Sarah's slave. Because when she became pregnant by Abraham, she felt like now, oh, I'm in charge now. And of course, you know how we know how to put women in their place. And trust me, Sarah had no problems reminding Hagar that she was her slave. So Hagar got really, really mad and decided to run away, knowing how bad Abraham had wanted a child. And so when she ran away, she ran into an angel. And an angel told her to go back and submit to Sarah, and told her that she was going to have a son, and his name would be Ishmael. So Hagar went back, and she was so happy, and she just went and hugged Abraham and told him that she was having a son, and that the angel told him to name him Ishmael. And so, you know how Sarah act like she was happy. But of course, think about it. This is her husband. Abraham never ever had another woman besides Sarah. So Sarah wasn't feeling as happy as she thought she was. But on the other hand, Abraham was very, very happy when Hagar gave birth to the son. The only problem was Abraham ignored her like she was not even there. All he cared about was the baby and that he would have a son and he would become, have an heir to pass everything on to. So time passed by, and of course, Ishmael, Abraham fell in love with him, and Hagar just sitting back plotting, how my son is going to be the king and the heir. Well, later, about maybe 13 years after that, God came back to Abraham and he told Abraham that he would have a child by Sarah. Abraham laughed. Abraham said, Lord, I'm 100 years old and Sarah is 90 years old. And you telling me that we're going to have a baby by next year? And of course, that, it was just far outreaching for Abraham. And so actually the angels came and God to see Abraham. And Sarah was in her tent and she heard that they said Sarah would have a baby by next year. And Sarah laughed. And so when she went out there, they said, Sarah, we heard you laugh. And she said, no, I didn't. He said, so you don't believe that you could have a baby by next year? And she said, yes, she believed it. Yes. So, of course, we know Hagar was just angry, mad, because now that means that her son would not be the heir, which he never was supposed to be the heir anyway. And Sarah did get pregnant and had Isaac. And Isaac always was God's choice. And it was Isaac who was going to carry on the name. And he also switched Abraham and Sarah, because Sarah's name was Sarai and Abraham was Abram. But he told Abraham that he would be king of the nation and Sarah would be his queen. And of course, they would have more children, heirs, more than the stars in the sky, more than the dust on the ground. And of course, Sarah did have her baby. Now I did find it strange, Can you imagine someone getting pregnant right now? Can you imagine even getting pregnant at 50, 55, 60, 65, but getting pregnant at 90 years old? And of course, Sarah did have the baby. She was having a little problems. And Abraham started thinking, oh God, what if God give him the son and take Sarah? See, Abraham loved Sarah with all his heart. And when I say all his heart, besides God, because we know that God came first in Abraham's life, but Sarah was definitely second. And so when Abraham came in, when they heard the baby, hear the baby crying, Abraham didn't look at the baby. Only person he looked at was Sarah, because all he wanted to know is that she was okay and she was fine. She gave a healthy baby, breastfed him. I know, 90 years old, breastfed him until he was able to be weaned off. Isaac loved his brother Ishmael, but Sarah told Abraham, I think Ishmael was like maybe 14, 15, that Hagar and Ishmael had to go, because she said that Isaac loved him so much that he would give over his birthright. And she knew that that's what Hagar was waiting on. And at first, Abraham was like, send him away, because he loved Ishmael too. And then I guess when he went out and he thought about it, and he told her that she was right, and that's when he sent Hagar and Ishmael off, told them, that they had to leave. But God had already blessed Ishmael, that he too was going to have a nation. And he too will have a tribe because he was given 12 girls. So he became, and that's kind of how the Islamic religion started. And if I'm wrong, please someone do research and send it to me in the comment, because that was one of the things that my understanding is when the Islamic started, really started. And so after that, Sarah lived to be 127 years old. Now remember, Abraham was like, a baby? I can have a baby at 100? He was like, 100 years old, God. Well, let me inform you that Abraham had 5 more children after Sarah had passed away with one of his concubines. So he ended up with 5, and they all were sons. So Abraham had 5 more after Sarah had passed away. And of course, Abraham had it already set up that when he died, that he wanted to be buried right beside Sarah. And to end the story, Abraham lived to be 175 years old. And Isaac was the leader. And Abraham wanted Isaac to go back and marry someone from his family and not any of the Canaanite women. If you have any new things that you want to add, please put it in the comment. Thank you for listening to me, because I'm telling you right now, I truly wish that God could send me a Abraham, someone who loved me more than he loved Sarah more than he loved himself. So that's why I call it true love. And if you got true love out there, hold on to it. Don't let it go, because true love is hard to find. Thank you for listening in. See ya.